Good day everyone, my name is Meridale Subukal. In this video, we were going to tackle about the learners with difficulty hearing to general education adaptions. Learners with difficulty hearing refers to the students with an issue regarding hearing that interferes with academics. The definition from Individual with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA defines as an impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affects a child's educational performance, but is not included under the definitions of deafness. Deafness is considered when hearing loss is above 90 decibels. 90 decibels is a high noise level. A hearing loss below 90 decibels is called hearing impairment. The main challenge of hearing impaired students is communication, since most of them having varying ways of communicating. The factors of development affecting the development of communication skills include the intelligence, personality, the degree of nature of deafness and residual hearing, family environment, and the age of onset. The latter plays the most crucial role in the development of languages, as those who have hearing loss present at birth are more functionally disabled than those who lose hearing after language and speech development. As I go through the internet, deafness is defined as a hearing impairment that is severe that the child is impaired in processing linguistic information through hearing, with or without amplification, had adversely affect a child's educational performance. We all know that hearing plays an important role in student development and daily performance. Hearing impairment occurs when there is a problem with or damage to one or more parts of the hearing mechanism. It is identified as one of the 10 most prevalent causes of disabilities in the United States. The United States Department of Health and Human Services 1991 reported that the 5% of the children 18 years and under have a hearing loss. A student with a hearing impairment is a part of a heterogeneous group, and a common characteristic is some degree of hearing loss. To effectively teach students with hearing loss impairment, teachers need to become familiar with hearing-related concepts. The purpose of this chapter is to briefly outline the nature of hearing impairment and provide you with useful current definitions. The chapter will provide you with information on how we hear, how hearing is assessed, ways of identifying students with hearing impairments in the classroom, and discuss their learners' characteristics. Some information on the several types of professionals help can be assistance in diagnosing and educating students with a hearing impairment will also be provided. Hearing impairment can be classified into 4 categories depending on the site of the problem in the ear. The first is conductive, second, sensorineural, third, mixed, then the fourth is central auditory processing disorder. The first is a conductive hearing impairment. It results from a blockage or damage to the outer or middle ear structures. This problem interferes with the transmission of sound through the outer and middle ear to the inner ear, resulting in reduced loudness of the sound. A conductive hearing loss can fluctuate according to the presence or severity of the blockage. During this period of reduced hearing, the student may miss out on learning, negatively affecting all aspects of development. Some of the common causes of conductive hearing impairment include excessive earwax or cerumen, middle ear infection such as otitis media, where there is pus or fluid buildup or inflammation which causes pain and reduces the ability of the eardrum to vibrate, or perforation of the eardrum, and otosclerosis, the eardrum and the ossicles have decreased mobility. In many cases, a conductive hearing impairment can be corrected with medication, hearing aids, or surgery. Then the second one is the sensorineural hearing loss results from damage to the inner ear of the auditory nerve. A sensorineural hearing loss can range from mild to profound and often affects the student's ability to hear certain frequencies more than others. Thus, even with amplification to increase the sound level, a student with sensorineural hearing loss may perceive. Distorted speech sounds resulting in difficulty with understanding speech and interpreting various sounds neural hearing loss may perceive. Distorted speech sounds resulting in difficulty with understanding speech and interpreting various sounds, quantity and quality of sounds. Some of these causes include genetic disorders, which can interfere with proper development or inner ear structures, injuries, complications during pregnancy or birth, infections or illnesses such as mumps, measles, and chickenpox, and also the medication side effects. This type of hearing impairment is usually permanent and irreversible. Sensory neural hearing impairment are frequently not medically or surgically treatable. However, most people with a sensory neural loss find wearing hearing aids and using sound amplification technology to be of significant benefit. Then the third one is the mixed hearing loss, refers to a combination of a conductive and the sensory neural hearing loss, indicating that there may be damage in the outer or middle ear and the cochlea or auditory nerve. Treatment depends on the severity of the conductive, hearing aid, medical or surgical intervention, and sensory neural hearing aid portions of the hearing impairment. And the fourth one is this form of hearing impairment occurs when the auditory centers of the brain are affected by injury, disease, tumor, heredity, birth trauma, head trauma, or unknown causes. Although the outer middle and inner parts of the ear deliver sound signals, these signals are unable to be processed and interpreted by the brain. Thus, even though the person's hearing may be normal, there are difficulties with understanding what is being said, resulting in learning problem. Central auditory processing involves a variety of skills such as localizing the sound, attending to it, perceiving it accurately through auditory discrimination and auditory recognition to make sense of the sound. Difficulties in one or more of the above listed behaviors may constitute a central auditory processing disorder. The use of assistive technology and environmental modifications to the listening environment can provide acoustic enhancement by amplifying the incoming speech signal, thereby improving the auditory signal to the noise ratio, that is, the ratio between the signal and any unwanted background noise. According to the ASHA Task Force of Central Auditory's Consensus Development 1996, audiologists are best qualified to understand breakdown in central auditory processing and to guide management of the condition. Understanding these four categories of hearing impairment will be helpful to you as a teacher or as a future teacher, as they suggest the teaching and learning frameworks that must be set in place so that each student can properly access the curriculum. Then, to identify the learner's difficulty hearing, observe a student and see if he or she does this following. First is, the students must be speaking loudly. The second one is, he or she positioning ear toward the direction of the one speaking. Third, asking information to be repeated again and again. Then fourth, delayed development of speech. The fifth, watching the face of the speaking intently. The sixth is favoring one ear. Then the seventh, not responding when called. Then has difficulty following direction. Ninth, does not mind loud noises. Na sila pag-alam sa kusog nga saba. Then the last one is learning close to the source of sounds. We all know that hearing loss can be temporary, but when it's not, there are technologies, therapists, and other treatments to help. Devices like hearing aid, cochlear implants can improve a child's ability to hear. Learning sign language or speech reading can also make it easier to communicate. So we must be all equal in all aspects of this world and understand the situations of everybody. That's all for the learners with difficulty hearing, and my co-reporter will tackle the general education adaptions. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Janet De La Cruz from BEd 2B. So this is the continuation of Mary Dale's report all about the learners with difficulty hearing. It is helpful to know that while the terms hearing impairment and hearing loss are often used to describe a wide range of hearing losses, included deafness. And it is actually defines the two terms separately. And those are the following. Hearing impairment refers to an impairment in hearing, whether permanent or fluctuating, that adversely affects a child's educational performance, but that is not included under the definition of deafness. Although children and students with deafness are not included in the definition of hearing impairment, they are not counted in the hearing category under the definition for child with disability. Deafness is defined as a hearing impairment that is so severe that the child is impaired in processing linguistic information through hearing with or without amplification, has adversely affects a child's educational performance. Thus, deafness is viewed as a condition that prevents an individual from receiving sounds in all or most of its forms. In contrast, a child with a hearing loss can generally respond to auditory stimuli, including speech. So now let us proceed to the general education adaptions. There is an assumption that the only adjustment for hearing impaired students is to make all instructional materials and techniques in a written format. In a written format isn't because again of their disability in hearing, but aside from that, there are also other ways in order to adapt to hearing impaired students, and those ways are as follows. First, teachers should help students with difficulty hearing to use the residual hearing they may have. So basically, residual hearing is the ability to hear some sounds even if a hearing loss exists. Having residual hearing is important because it can have a substantial impact on a person's hearing performance both now and in the future. Second, teachers should help students develop the ability for speech reading or watching others' lips, mouth, and expressions. So lip reading is the art of being able to see speech sounds. It is often called speech reading because people use other clues such as facial expressions, gestures, and surroundings to help them understand what is being said. Lip reading can help people who are hearing impaired to cope better with hearing loss. Third, teachers should be mindful to face the class at all times when presenting information while ensuring that the students with difficulty hearing sit near them. So kids with hearing loss may need to sit closer to the front of the class to speech read or read lips or to hear more clearly. For instance, arranging chairs in your classroom in a U-shape or circle so that students with hearing loss can better interact with classmates, or to minimize background noise when possible. Fourth, exaggerating the pronunciation of words should not be done, for it just makes it difficult for the students with difficulty hearing. So it makes them difficult to understand in a sense that they have difficulty in hearing. With regards to lip reading also, they can have a hard time reading your lips since the word you've said or the words it is being said is being exaggerated, and there is a big possibility that they won't get it. So when teaching, we should always consider those students with disabilities in any aspects. Fifth, directions as well as important part of the lesson should always be written on the board. So it is important to write it on the board so that although they have hearing impaired, they can still be able to perform such tasks given since they already have the clear instructions or whatsoever by writing it on the board. Six, written or pictorial directions instead of verbal directions may be given. So it is advisable to use written directions so that they can get it clearly and without hesitation, because if you provide verbal direction, there is a big possibility that they can hear it clearly, resulting to a wrong performance. So again, putting considerations to the students with disabilities is indeed necessary. Next is steps to an activity may be physically acted out instead of verbally given. So it is much better if it is physically acted so that again they can get and understand it easily instead of verbal, considering that they have difficulty in hearing. Next is a variety of multisensory activities should be given to allow the students to focus on their learning strengths. And last but not the least is teachers should be more patient when waiting to hear a response from a hearing impaired students, which may take longer than usual. So it is expected that they will respond late, considering again that they have hearing impaired or difficulty in hearing. It will maybe takes time for them to process something unlike the normal one. So the teachers must be more patient with regards to this.